There are doors in this world we pass through every day. Front doors, back doors, car doors, bedroom doors. But some doors aren't made of wood or steel. Some are made of time, of memory, of something else entirely. Our story tonight takes place behind one such door, in a quiet suburban townhouse, ordinary by all appearances. But within its walls, reality is thinner than it ought to be. And for one young man, a single night becomes an encounter with something old, something watching, something that crawls. Step with caution, traveler. You've just crossed the threshold into the Phantom Hour.
What do you say? I'm down. Alright, man. I just got home. I'll talk to you later. Hey.
Rob sat in his car, engine off, staring at the townhouse where he lived with his mom. The porch light was off, the windows dark, and he knew the house well enough to know the floorboards creaked when you didn't want them to. It was 1 a.m., the witching hour, as some folks like to say. He wasn't the superstitious type, but something about that night felt off. Maybe it was the drinks. Maybe it was the way the dark seemed to press against the windows. He shook it off. Just guilt. Just the night. Rob knew he'd crossed a line. He wasn't supposed to be drinking, and he sure as hell wasn't supposed to be stumbling in after midnight. His mom, guided by faith and a rigid sense of right and wrong, had always seen him as the steady one, the son who stayed the course even when others drifted. So when he finally mustered the courage to slip inside, he did it like a man sneaking into enemy territory. Shoes off, keys in his pocket, steps slow and measured. The air inside was still, too still, and the darkness was unavoidable. He couldn't afford to turn on any lights. So he crept toward the stairs like a thief in the night, praying his mom's door was shut tight. Halfway up, he heard her snoring, and for the first time he was relieved. All the doors were either open or cracked, yawning dark into the hallway. The bathroom door hung ajar, the darkness inside thick and deep, like it swallowed the light. The black beyond the door wasn't just empty, it felt like a void ready to swallow him whole. His thoughts curled into themselves like frightened animals, and he walked faster, afraid that if he didn't, he might start listening to them. He didn't bother closing the door. He just flopped down onto the mattress, head near the foot of the bed, feet where the pillows usually were. He was exhausted, but somehow alert. He lay on his stomach, chest pressed into the mattress, arms folded under his chin in a praying-like position. It was awkward, uncomfortable even, but not more uncomfortable than what was about to happen. From where he lay, he had a perfect, unobstructed view down the hallway and beyond into the dark stairwell that seemed to stretch into forever. That's when it hit him. That sinking feeling like the air had thickened. Something's not right. He stared at the hallway. The silence was so complete it made his own breathing sound too loud. His heart started to pick up again. Then he heard it. sound, soft, deliberate. Not footsteps, not quite. A shuffle, a crawl. His breath caught in his throat, eyes locked on the darkness, squinting, trying to convince himself it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. Two pale green eyes emerged from the void. A girl, maybe 12, wearing a filthy Victorian nightgown. Her hair was tangled and greasy, her skin pale and waxy, like a doll left in the attic too long. The stains on her gown, was it dirt? Blood? Rob couldn't tell, but her eyes, cold, intelligent, hateful, locked onto him. There was something about the way she stared, almost a slight grin curling at the edges of her mouth, like she knew exactly who he was. And he didn't. She didn't rush. She stared into Rob's eyes like she was reading him, sizing him up. Then, in a slow, sickening crawl, she began to make her way up the last few steps, her movements jerky, inhuman, the kind that makes your stomach twist in on itself. Rob's body tensed. He thought, "Move! Get up!" And with a burst of will, he tried to push himself up on his arms. That's when she bolted forward. It happened in an instant. She scurried across the landing, into his room, and was in his face before he could even react. It was as if she had simply blinked from there to here, collapsing the space between them in a flash. He was frozen, paralyzed by fear. Her face loomed inches from his, but now twisted into something both childish and grotesque. Her eyes, those dead, hateful eyes, locked onto his once again, but from this distance, there was no mistake that her gaze was anything but pure, unrelenting evil. He could see every detail, the pallor of her skin, the filth on her gown, the cold emptiness in her gaze. And then she shrieked. Not a sound, a weapon. A shriek so sharp, so inhuman, it tore through the air like a blade, slicing into his skull and rattling the walls. His body betrayed him, locked, seizing, thrashing. He couldn't scream, couldn't move, couldn't do anything. He was trapped, every nerve on fire, as if she had reached inside him and froze him in place. His thoughts fractured as they spiraled. Where is she? Is she still here? What's happening? Get up. Then, darkness. When he came to, the room was still, silent. The air felt heavy, thick like fog, as if something had just left but wasn't truly gone. His heart pounded in his ears. His hands trembled just as his mom's voice drifted down the hallway. "Robert, are you okay?" He swallowed, voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah, I'm okay." But he wasn't. Not really. He hesitated, then slowly reached out and closed the door, that thin, fragile barrier between him and whatever had just been there. The next day, over dinner, his mom asked him, what happened the other night? He told her, every last detail. Her eyes grew wide as her face turned white, and she said, "I didn't see you come in, but I saw the little girl go into your room." And she heard the scream too. That was the first time. There were others. But that's a story for another night. Some houses hold on to their secrets, quietly waiting in the dark. For Rob, one night of guilty drinking became a nightmare that reached out from the shadows. Was it a ghost, a demon, or something else entirely? Sometimes it doesn't matter what it is, only that it knows where you sleep. And that is a truth best not faced alone.
When the lights go low and the screen turns black, there's no turning round, no going back. A voice in the static, a knock at the door. You've been here before, but never this far. In the phantom hour, truth gets strange. Time slips loose and faces change. One more tale, one more scream. You're wide awake, but trapped in a dream.